In today's video, we're going to be discussing catch-up maintenance on extremely low mileage Hummer H2s. Our example today comes from Chrissy 9857. She recently purchased a 2007 Hummer H2 with only 16,000 miles on the odometer. Absolutely incredible. What a find. Chrissy, congrats and welcome to the Hummer team. With that being said, Chrissy also mentioned that the vehicle sat for several years, and that makes sense, guys. Again, only 16,000 miles. This video is being made as of October 2025 for historical purposes. So due to the vehicle sitting for several years, due to the extreme low miles on the actual vehicle, I do have several concerns with Chrissy's H2 that I really want to address to make sure that she doesn't run into any mechanical problems on her H2. Also, when it comes to these extremely low mileage Hummer H2s, they do exist. If you are someone hunting for one of these rare H2s, something to keep in mind is that typically they're going to be owned by elderly couples. They can't get in the vehicle anymore. They become sick, they pass away. That's just the reality of the situation. So something to keep in mind, when searching for these H2s. Actually, I know of a woman in my area. She's an elderly woman. She owns a Hummer H3T. I'm not sure if it's an Alpha or not. And it has approximately 5,000 miles on the vehicle. Absolutely insane. It's probably the one of the, if not the lowest, H3T in the entire country. Absolutely incredible. So, Chrissy's Hummer H2, 16,000 miles. My first thought process is, let's try to get a history of the vehicle. Let's go get a Carfax report. You can go on Etsy for 99 cents, maybe $2-3. Let's take the VIN. Let's get the history of the vehicle. Are there any outstanding recalls? When did the majority of these miles take place? Was the vehicle inspected over the years? When was the last time the vehicle was inspected? Look for clues on the vehicle. Again, I've got obviously 2026 stickers in the corner. If you do have those stickers on your vehicle, let's see when was the last time this vehicle was inspected? How long was it sitting? Let's just try to first get a history of the vehicle, try to understand where we're starting at. From there, my first recommendation would be to flush the oil out of the engine. Understand that oil, just because oil is in an engine, even if the vehicle is sitting still, it can't become contaminated and turn into sludge over time. I'd actually recommend doing a double flush. Put in an engine flush into your oil, flush out the oil. Put again oil back into it using a quality filter. Put more engine flush, do it again, and then put your good oil into your vehicle. That would be a very important step in this process. My next concern is, it's going to be twofold. It's going to be your radiator and the external transmission cooler. Understand that the stock setup on the H2, the lines from the transmission run into your radiator, and then from your radiator, they run into the transmission cooler. Because the vehicle is 20 years old, these radiators are known to rust out in general. With the vehicle sitting for years, the radiator may look good on the outside. However, it could be completely rusted on the inside. If the radiator fails, what's going to happen is that the coolant in here, your engine coolant, is going to mix with your transmission fluid. It's going to go into your radiator. Because the radiator fails, it's going to mix up. It's going to flow back to your transmission, and your transmission is going to fail. To avoid potential transmission failure, my recommendations are twofold. First, let's bypass the radiator. What you can do, I've got videos on my channel. This is an external transmission cooler. Let's get this installed. It's not that bad of a job. That's going to eliminate, the failure point that I just mentioned to you. At the same time, I recommend installing a new radiator. The stock radiators do not have a petcock. It's going to make it easier when you change out fluid in the future. Plus, again, we don't want to run into a situation where your radiator fails and your engine overheats. We don't want that to happen. Let's get a new quality radiator installed. Okay, fantastic. We've done these 3 primary, again, upgrades or catch-up maintenance. Fantastic, great work. Next, what I recommend would be flushing all remaining fluids. Front diff, rear diff, transfer case, transmission. When it comes to the transmission, what I recommend is removing the pan. We're going to install a new filter, a new plug. We're going to install a new upgraded transmission shift module. It's going to give you cleaner shifts. It's going to improve the life expectancy of your transmission. I would also recommend getting 2 new magnets. They're really beefy. The GM magnets, they'll say made in China. We're going to install those magnets on a new transmission pan. The stock transmission pan does not have a drain plug. So that's going to help you with future maintenance down the road. Now, I am an AMSOIL dealer. I've got the clip on my channel for the fluids that I have. You'll find the video on my channel. It'll give you a guide for all the fluids that I recommend using in my H2. So now that you've got all your fluids changed, fantastic. My next, recommendations at this point, I would want to get a new fuel pump. The reason for that is that the stock fuel pump could potentially be rusted out on your H2. So we're going to want to drop the fuel tank and get a new fuel pump ring. We want to check for rust underneath the vehicle as well. Is there any potential rust on the frame? Does the frame need to be de-rusted? Another question is, where was this vehicle? Was this vehicle in like Arizona in the desert? Was it, in Canada? Was it in, Maine getting beat on by snow? So I want to take a look at the frame and look for potential rust spots. The worst rust area, in all likelihood, it could be actually all over the frame with it sitting like that. But I want to check in the rear of the H2. That's typically where rust can build up. But with the vehicle sitting, again, the whole frame could have potential surface rust. Powder coating the frame, that's something that definitely I'm going to be taking into consideration. With such a low mileage H2, my goal is to preserve the vehicle so that it lasts and you get to enjoy it for an extremely long time. By getting the upgraded fuel pump, again, that's going to make the driving experience so much better. While we're underneath the vehicle, the last recommendation I have for being underneath your H2, I would want to get all 4 U-joints replaced with the Spicer U-joints. And the reason is that grease, it wouldn't surprise me if that grease had completely dry rotted inside the U-joints from sitting over years. So it's definitely something to take into consideration. Even if the U-joints were in good shape, I still would recommend changing them out for the upgraded parts. It's just going to make drivability a touch bit better, and you're going to feel it on the road. So if you want to get the best possible experience, let's do it right. Let's take the extra time. Let's get those U-joints replaced. Again, that fuel pump, potentially it could be rusted out too. Just because these H2s have extreme low mileage, it doesn't mean that you know, they're going to be issue free. So with that being said, let's just do a quick rundown of what we've accomplished so far. We've changed the oil. All right, we've installed the external transmission cooler. We've installed a new radiator. Underneath the vehicle, we've got all our fluids swapped out. We've got new U-joints, new fuel pump. We've potentially de-rusted and powder coated the frame. You know, this is something else too. If these are still in good condition, these rock bars, I highly recommend powder coating them. It's a very hard part to find in good condition. I actually had to drive down from Pennsylvania to North Carolina, and there was a dude who had them. He worked at a Hummer dealership, and he had them underneath his porch for like the last 20 years. So there's a little bit of rust in them. I pulled the rust out with a magnet, powder coated the inside, powder coated the outside, you know, with Eastwood. Incredible. With that being said, guys, we're gonna come back into the engine bay now. I still have lots of concerns. There's lots of, you know, recommendations and concerns I have with the actual engine, and you know, some of the lights as well. Since we're, you know, getting this H2 back up to speed, all right, ladies and gentlemen, you know, engine coolant, got that changed out as well. You know, let's make sure this is topped off. All right, check for any broken or missing, you know, caps. You know, while you're underneath, you know, the hood and we're looking in here, I want to take a look at wires, guys. This is very, very important because the vehicle was sitting. My concern is that all it takes is one mice. Literally, one mice can take down a car. It can take down an army division. I kid you not, guys. There's stories from World War II where field mice destroyed an entire tank division just from eating wires. So with that being said, let's come in here, guys. Let's take a very close look at our wires. Okay, everything looks good. I don't see any mice that were living in here. That's fantastic. But again, that's going to be one of my concerns with a low mileage Hummer H2 that's been sitting. You know, from here, guys, again, air filter. We're starting off fresh, and at the very end of this process, we're going to be tuning our H2 to get the most you know, enjoyment out of our H2. So let's change that air filter. Let's clean our mass airflow sensor. Let's put on new belts. These new Continental belts are much better than OEM. So again, I'd want new belts on my H2. Your throttle body. All right, let's clean off the front of this and behind it. There's a lot of people on YouTube, they talk about cleaning this. They only clean the front of it. They never clean the back of it. Let's get that clean. Your throttle body intake. Again, let's take that off. Let's get in there. There could be some carbon buildup. You know, let's pressure wash it out, get that cleaned. You know, for me too, something that I don't think a lot of people would discuss with you guys is your fuel injectors. Even with low mileage fuel injectors, my problem is there's microscopic particles on those fuel injectors that could potentially be clogging your fuel injectors. So I would want to, you know, take my fuel injectors out, send them in to be refurbished, and or buy a refurbished set and get those in. You know, moving, you know, further down, we've got our throttle body gaskets. You know, there's a new gasket I'd want installed here. The GM gaskets are extremely poorly designed. They're thin, so I'd want new gaskets up here. When you put the Felpro gasket in between right here and the block, that actually seals it up. You'd be surprised on how much that can seal and make a difference. That'll definitely increase your horsepower. It's a very, very easy upgrade while you're down there. You might as well do the valley cover gasket. With such a low mileage H2, your coil packs are going to be good. I would recommend changing the spark plugs at this point. You know, a potential like just the like you know, tips being hardened over time, maybe being warmed up. You know, that probably can change the spark plug gap over time. Again, that's something probably most people wouldn't be discussing with you. you know, on a low mileage H2. Always check your spark plug gaps. I have bought or purchased spark plugs, and they haven't been gapped properly. Coil packs should be fine. Again, wires, they should be fine as well. Let's see, what else do I have for you guys? You know, you're buying parts for your H2. Beware of, you know, counterfeit parts. There's lots out there. You might be saying to yourself, you know, I could save 50 bucks or 100 bucks. If it seems too good to be true, it likely is. Another upgrade or recommendation is taking these valley covers off and drilling holes through them on the backs, on the insides. It's a bad design. You can increase oil flow on them. There's actually a redesigned one for the driver's side, and it gives slightly better flow. However, it's not perfect, so I would recommend buying the upgraded valley cover and then, you know, drilling the holes through. That's gonna increase the you know, oil flow. So your power steering system should still be fine on these low mileage Hummer H2s. I would be slightly concerned on potential rust, but again, if you're not seeing any rust in the, you know, on the vehicle, your power steering system's still fine and likely won't need to be upgraded. Again, I'd be checking, you know, this for rust. This is your power steering radiator. Now might be a good time to upgrade the battery. Again, this is the best battery you can get, Extreme Odyssey. There it is. I would also recommend taking a look in your fuse box. This is the OnStar fuse. I would want to take that out. What can happen is that can drain your battery over time. Take a look at your relays. Do the relays look good? I've discussed this in the past, that what will happen is these relays can become fried over time. Specifically, you know, your fuel pump relay goes, your vehicle will not start. So you can see, like right here, what I actually do is I recommend going on YouTube and just type in Hummer H2 relays, and there's videos on it. It's really educational experience. Other things that I recommend too is underneath the vehicle, the oil pan gasket is, you know, it's one of these things where some people would say, if it's not leaking, don't worry about it. My recommendation is that it's a bad gasket. In all likelihood, it's going to be leaking in the future. I'd recommend dropping the front diff and replacing that gasket. You can do it yourself. You don't need to take the front diff off. You know, just lower it. You know, make sure the CV axles are torqued to spec. I believe it's 58 foot-pounds. What else do I have for you guys? You know, when I said flushing the oil, you know, if you can time it correctly, you know, flush the oil 2 times, you know, put the new gasket on, put some RTV gasket on the outside. I've done it to mine, guys. There's some wires on the side you got to pull out. On the front, there's a bracket. You got to take that off. You get that done, you don't have to worry about your oil leaks. Some other upgrades that I, you know, recommend with an extremely low mileage Hummer H2 are going to be your lights, guys. In all likelihood, these stock bulbs are still on the vehicle, so I'd recommend going online, you know, getting, these are not fog lights, these are daylight running lights. Let's get a set of extremely bright daylight running lights. You want people to see you, okay? Don't want anybody to hit your vehicle. You want to be able to see at nighttime. Let's get some LEDs. I've got all the lighting here. Absolutely incredible. If you ever hear like a little fan running, that's because there is a fan right there. So let's get new lights in here. Let's take a look around the vehicle, guys. Are our lights, you know, still working on the vehicle? So again, come into your H2, come over here, and what is it? Is it? Yeah. What is it? So you can see our lights, they're working. You know, walk around the vehicle, take a look. Got our lights at the top, they're all working, which is absolutely fantastic. So definitely something to consider. You know, take a look on the inside. Are any lights burn out or dead? Water leaks, I've got the videos on my channel regarding 25 plus water leaks that I recommend sealing on your H2. Not even want to take these off just to see if there's potential rust behind these. Lube everything up with a rust protectant. So what else do I have for you guys? Wiper blades, it's something to take into consideration. Tires, are the tires actually dry rotted? So let's take a look at the tires. Your tires actually may need to be replaced, even though they're probably the original tires. I'd assume they're still the original tires on the vehicle, but again, that would be something I'd want to take it into a tire shop and say, hey, are these dry rotted? I really don't know what the dry rotted tires would look like. From what I understand, it's like a lot of cracks, but that's an OEM tire right there. Let's take a look at it while we're here. So this tire was on the rear tire carrier. And it's, I would assume this is dry rotted out. But again, that's what an old tire looks like, guys. So I want to make sure I'm covering everything in this vehicle for you guys. I think that's it. At that point, again, we've gone through our H2, and what I've done for you guys with these low mileage H2s, I've put you guys in a position that I'm extremely confident that if you followed all my recommendations that I've listed in this video, that your H2 really would be absolutely incredible for several years to come. The inside of the vehicle, I would definitely want to take a look inside and just see how dirty it is. Is it clean inside? In all likelihood, it's probably extremely clean. It does not need a really deep cleaning. The last step I would recommend in this process would be probably these rear panels. I would want to, man, that's a workout. I would want to take some of these rear panels off. Specifically, the most dust buildup that I saw was on the C-pillar. This section right here that I'm showing you guys back here, this is really dusty. And due to those water leaks, another concern I have is if it was outside in the rain, in all likelihood, dirt has built up in the rear of the vehicle, and coming through the A-pillar, probably a lot of dirt and grime buildup down here. Twigs coming down, bugs. So probably the last step, for me, getting these sealed, getting this sealed and shooting cleaner through the holes, especially in the rear, to make sure your H2 is bug free. Again, with the vehicle sitting, there's in all likelihood going to be bugs. Somebody's probably called it home somewhere. Just this week I haven't been driving that much, and a spider keeps putting up a web right here. So all right, if you guys have followed me all the way to the end, thank you, and good luck on your projects, and congrats on your low mileage Hummer H2s.